Hello, St. Louis, and welcome to What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means. He is the founder of the Means Financial Group. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jerry, it is great to see you this week. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful. We've got an incredible topic of a show today. It's one word. It's often a scary word. It's often an emotional word. People often have feelings about it one way or another. You ready for me to kick it off?
I'm ready.
Annuities.
Yeah, definitely some misconceptions out there. Yeah. People are, have two different ways of looking at them. They've heard stories and maybe they don't have the best outlook on them. And a lot of times that's just a lack of education about the product.
Right. So today I want to talk about that. I want to ask from your point of view, since this is the kind of thing you've been doing for a long time. Annuities aren't the only part of what you do in a practice. I know you help people manage their money and you look at everything from Social Security to life insurance, but this is an important program and we're dedicating the entire program to it because there's so much information in there. So right or wrong, as I said, there's a lot of different feelings on there. Are they right or wrong or somewhere in between?
So I think if you have the appropriate vehicle in your plan, they're going to be right for you. Right, so not all annuities do all things, right? So we have to figure out which product is going to be right for you in your situation. And that all comes with, I feel like a broken record sometimes, but we always say that comes back to having the right plan. So I like to educate people about the different types of annuities so we can get rid of some of those misconceptions. They feel educated and empowered. Then we can go through and say, do any of these fit in your portfolio? And we can run them through different scenarios. Yeah. And myself, I work in the retirement market. So most of my clients are 50 and over. And we're doing a lot of retirement income planning. We're financial advisors by our license, but I consider myself more of a retirement planner than a financial planner. I'm going to help you do the retirement income planning. And annuities play a big part in that because of a lot of the guarantees that are provided.
Right. So, you know what? I don't mind rolling back just a little bit. I know we hear this word annuity, but I don't know if people know exactly by definition of what an annuity is. So can you give me a little color on that?
Sure. So an annuity is a contractual agreement between you and the insurance carrier. So you're going to give the insurance carrier a sum of money with the promise of either now or later down the road getting guaranteed income payments or other different kinds of guarantees. It can be long-term care payments. It can be a death benefit to your beneficiaries. But it's a contractual agreement and it's backed up by the credit paying ability of the insurance carrier.
Okay, all right. So it's a contractual agreement. We're going to talk a little bit today about some of the things that people have misgivings about, one of them being maybe illiquidity. But if you don't mind, can you describe some of the different types of annuities? I mean, there's thousands out there, might be tens of thousands, even 100,000 or so in registration. But are there some general types?
So there's four major types of annuities. The first is kind of referred to as the pension annuity or the immediate annuity. And sometimes they're referred to as single premium immediate annuities. This is where you give the insurance carrier a sum of money and they're going to guarantee payments immediately for either lifetime or a certain period of time. So it's a way of putting your money in there and getting that pension payment for the rest of your life. The second is going to be a traditional fixed annuity. A traditional fixed annuity is kind of like the CD that you get at the bank. You're going to have maybe a 5-year term. You know exactly how much interest you're going to make every single year. And at the end of that term, you can decide if you want to re-up it for another period or if you want to transfer it to another vehicle. And then kind of a spin-off of that is a third vehicle. It's called a fixed indexed annuity. And the fixed indexed annuity, instead of getting that fixed rate, it's fixed in the sense that you can't lose any of your principal, but the interest, instead of being a fixed rate, is linked to a stock market index. And you're going to share in a portion of that index returns. But on the flip side, if the index goes down, the worst that you can do is have a zero floor for that year. So it gives you that opportunity to play some of the upside of the market without that market risk. And then the fourth type is a variable annuity. Now, variable annuity is a lot different. And I really feel like the variable annuity is the one that you hear the advertisements on TV that say,
is this the bad kid on the block we keep hearing about?
The bad kid on the block that says, they say, I hate annuities, right? So that's the type of annuity that they're usually talking about.
And why is it? Why is it can be so difficult for some folks?
Well, I think because people don't understand the fees involved in the variable annuity, the risk involved in the variable annuity. They kind of lump annuities all into one basket, and there are, like I said, 4 different types that do completely different things. A variable annuity is actually invested in mutual funds. It's still a contract with an insurance carrier, but instead of getting fixed rates or your money being protected, they're going to put it into a mutual fund. They call them sub-accounts, but they're mutual funds. And those mutual funds will go up and down with the market. So you get 100% of the reward and 100% of the loss. The caveat is...
Why would I want to do that inside something that's like a fee structure? I could do that on my own, investing on the outside, right?
Well, that's the argument, right? But one thing that a variable annuity does offer is if you put $100,000 into a variable annuity, market drops, so your fund goes down maybe 20%, you have 80 grand, and you die, it'll pay the 100,000 that you put in. So there's a guaranteed death benefit there. So if your spouse doesn't have to wait for the market to come back to get that full benefit. So there is some protection in there.
So one of the benefits is something I would never see if I purchased the policy.
Yeah,
but I'm covering it for my family.
And the fees inside a variable annuity, they have all different types of fees. There can be up to 20 different types of fees inside a variable annuity. But often a client will come in, we'll do a review of that annuity, we'll find out that they have an M&E fee, that's the life insurance expense fee for that benefit. Then you have an admin fee. Then you have a death benefit fee. Sometimes there's income rider fees.
Then there's the fee.
And then there's the fee on the funds.
Wow.
So often someone will think they're paying 1 to 2% in fees. I'll find out they're paying closer to 4%. Really? So if you have $1 million and you're paying 4% in fees, that's $40,000 a year. You figure that over a 10-year contract, it's $400,000, right? Plus the money that you could have made somewhere else.
It's hard enough right now just to figure out all the different types that are out there, let alone to know how to dig through these. And let's be honest, these insurance contracts that you usually take a look at, they're not one page of easy reading, are they? Aren't they dozens of pages and you've got to dig in to go find those fees?
Absolutely. And there's more pages added, it seems like, every year. I remember 23 years ago when I started in the business, the first annuity that I offered was a trifold brochure. It had one page that explained the product or the vehicle, one page that you filled out an application, and the third page was just like the disclosure page, and that was it. Today it's 50 pages long, and the brochures are this thick. So yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than it used to be.
Well, it's going to be a little confusing for some of the folks out there to kind of know what type of annuity they should be choosing for themselves. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this after the break. Like I said, this is a special program. We're talking about annuities, but you also cover so many other facets of retirement planning. On the screen right now, it says that you do a complimentary review. Can you explain that for the viewers?
Sure. So what we're offering is an on-track review. And during that review, one of the things that we'll do is if you have an annuity, we'll do a review of that annuity. We'll dig in and find the fees that you're paying and see if that is the appropriate vehicle for you. And if not, we can make suggestions and maybe there's some changes that you can do to better your situation. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at healthcare, your healthcare planning throughout your retirement. We're going to look at longevity risk. We're going to do an income plan for you. And we're going to address taxes. I know that's a big hot button with people right now. But we're going to go through and make sure that you're taking advantage of all of the different tax breaks that are out there for you.
All right. Like I said, we do have to take a very quick commercial break, but we're going to do a deeper dive into annuities right after this. Folks, please take advantage of this complimentary offer. All of the things included in there, taking a look at your investments, the costs. Will something like an annuity work for you? Do you have life insurance, legacy planning? All of this is a review that is complimentary. But you need to reach out to Jerry right here at 844-878-1293, 848-878-1293. Call that phone number so you can get your complimentary review. A little bit more of what retirement means to you, St. Louis, when we get back right after this break.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only. to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means. I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and this is a great program today that we are dedicating to talking about annuities. It's not the only thing that you do in your practice. You do all kinds of financial planning and retirement planning strategies, but this stuff is very important to cover. What I wanted to ask you, some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks. Let's be honest. Let's throw it all out there on the table. Why are some reasons why this could work for you, and why are some of the reasons why maybe not the best solution?
Okay, let's get into the good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah, the good, bad, and the ugly.
All right, so talking about fixed annuities. Some of the pros of that is it's 100% guaranteed, backed by the credit paying ability of the insurance carrier. You know exactly what type of return you're going to get, so it's contractual. So you sign up for 5 years, the company at that time is paying 3%, for example, for that 5-year period. You know how much access you're going to have to those funds. There's no mystery there. You know exactly what you're going to get. Some of the drawbacks right now, even though rates are on the rise, interest rates are still pretty low. Now, a traditional fixed annuity is going to pay maybe 2 to 3% higher than what a bank CD is going to be paying. So it's still a good fixed alternative.
So that means it's paying 2 or 3%, because bank CDs are basically paying nothing.
You
right?
got it. You got it. And as you know, inflation last year was almost 8%.
Yes,
so you're still
absolutely.
not keeping up with inflation, but it is an alternative to just having cash sitting in the bank.
Right. Okay. From there, then, I would say let's talk a little bit more about this variable annuity.
So I think the pros with the variable annuity, I'm not a huge fan of the variable annuity.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But the pros of the variable annuity, maybe for a younger clientele, if they want to have money in the stock market, but they maybe still have young kids at home and they're worried that, hey, what if I'm invested in the market?
Okay.
We have a 30-40% correction and something happens to me. I get hit by the milk truck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then my spouse now has lost me, but also our assets are down 40%, and they're going to need more income to get by through those tough times. The variable annuity does have that death benefit in there, and it's in the market, so for a younger person that has a longer time horizon, they can kind of go through those ups and downs. But again, you have to remember there's a lot of fees for those benefits.
This is what you had covered before. And
So
just to
that's
recap
kind of
for
the
some
ugly
folks,
part, right?
That is the ugly part. Again, sometimes is one of those a solution you like to use, or something you stay away from?
I stay away from it because I'm in the retirement market. Okay. And I just feel like the fixed and the fixed indexed and the immediate pension annuities are more appropriate for that age range.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about those fixed indexed annuities. Again, the function for us, these are vernacular that you use all the time, but for folks who are watching this, maybe you can explain how they work.
So I'll give you an example. I had a client that called me, it was a prospective client, that called me and said, Jerry, and I've got about $1.5 million setting aside. He had other assets,
okay,
but he had $1.5 million that he wanted to put into annuities. He'd been doing some of his own investigating online, running calculators, and he wanted to put $1.5 million into annuities. So what we did is we designed a plan. If he would have took that $1.5 million, just threw it into one annuity, it would generate about $60,000 a year in lifetime income for him and his spouse. And I probably should mention, he is 62, his wife is 50, so she's younger.
Okay.
So that lowered the amount that they could get paid out over the year because they look at the younger age, right? Because more longevity.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind. So what we
So
did,
marry older is what you're saying.
there you go. So I think that's always been a thing, right? So what we did is we designed a plan for them, and we put a portion of the assets into a 5-year immediate annuity that's going to pay them about $60,000 a year, and they wanted to start income this year. So it's going to pay $60,000 a year for the next 5 years, which is actually going to pay out. He puts into 260, it pays out 300, right? So
Okay.
it gets a little bit of growth, pays that out over a 5-year period. At the same time, when we did that, we put one that's going to defer for 5 years and then start in 5 years and pay for 5, right? So we're laddering them. And that one we put in $280,000. As that grows tax deferred, when the other one runs out and we trigger this one, it's going to pay him $66,000 a year. So I just gave him a 10% increase for that inflation, right? We took the other $957,000, we put it into the fixed index annuity, tax deferred with an income rider. In 10 years, when both of the other two are gone, this one's going to pay $76,000 a year in income for the rest of both of their
And
lives.
that's just the annuity parts themselves. And like we said, they're not necessarily solutions for everyone. But $66,000 to $76,000, along with your own Social Security, along with your other outside investments, you're living with a pretty healthy income in retirement. And these are pretty consistent, you say, the kinds of funds that you can count on through retirement, right?
Correct. And it's backed by, again, the credit paying ability of the insurance carrier. So you want to look at what their credit ratings are. And by doing it the plan that way, we put them with 3 different insurance carriers, right? So all of your eggs weren't in one basket.
Right, right. So tell me a little bit about the firm as well. I know that we're talking about annuities, but you do also take a look at other things like people's investments, health, what are we going to do with Social Security, even a little bit of legacy planning. It sounds like a lot that you do in one shop.
Yeah, so we're a retirement planning firm. We are a fiduciary firm, which means we need to do what's in our client's best interest. You would think everyone needs to do that, but we're held to a little bit higher standard when you're a fiduciary firm. And we're looking at the whole plan as a whole, holistically. So we want to look and say, okay, are you taking advantage of all of the different tax laws and tax rules in place? Are you doing tax planning? Not tax preparation, like going to your accountant and bringing everything in and them saying, hey, you should contribute to an IRA, it'll save you a few bucks. We're looking at long-term tax strategies. We also want to look at the risk in your portfolio. Are you taking unneeded risk in your portfolio? Does it align with your, what your risk level
objectives,
is?
who you are, what your risk level is, and how many times do people have their risk level off from where they're really at age-wise?
Almost every time they come in. I mean, people will come in and say, I'm conservative, I'm worried about market volatility, but my advisor said that as I've been getting older, he's been going more conservative with my portfolio. I run an analysis, take a look at it, and they're an aggressive portfolio. And sometimes it will say it in the fine print on the back of the statement, this is an aggressive model. I show that to them, like, well, I thought they were changing things as I got older. They've been dealing with an accumulation advisor their whole life, and they haven't really transferred into that preservation or distribution mode. And so they need to kind of realign those things. Or they'll have multiple accounts, and they really don't know where they're at as far as risk because they have so many accounts in different places.
Are some of these red flags the kind of things that you can uncover in a complimentary review?
Absolutely. So if someone comes in, for the next 10 callers, we're going to offer that. If you give us a call, it's a complimentary on-track review. We're going to tackle taxes, the fees in your portfolio. We're going to look at the risk in your portfolio, make sure it aligns with what you need to have. We're going to look at, do you have any type of longevity plan for long-term care, and also that income plan. Right. Those are the key components.
Folks, to get your own complimentary review, all you've got to do is call the phone number you see here. As you can imagine, we are broadcasting all around the St. Louis area, so as Jerry said, the first 10 callers get your own complimentary review by calling the phone number you see right here, 844-878-1293. We're going to be back with more about annuities and how do you determine if they're right for you when we come back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, St. Louis, to What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We're talking today about this program about annuities, the different types. It can be a confusing landscape. There's even a lot of people who have pushback about the word annuity alone. I think one of the next ones that I want to cover is just a plain fixed annuity. What does that mean?
So a fixed annuity is going to be a fixed rate of return. And it's also fixed in the sense that 100% of your principal is guaranteed. So again, if you put $100,000 into the fixed annuity, and that company's portfolio rate right now, or their interest rate that they're offering, is 3%, they're going to pay you 3% compounded tax deferred over a 5-year period. At the
That's it. Boom, there you go.
Yeah, at the end of 5 years, they'll let you know what their renewal rate is, and you can shop around, you can stay with that company, or you can look for another 5-year rate out there if you would like.
What are those rates based on? What the stock market is doing, or what interest rates are doing?
It's what interest rates are doing.
Okay.
So, the insurance company has to look at, and that's why I said portfolio rate. So they're looking what the insurance carrier can pay per year on that. And as interest rates go up, obviously they can pay a little bit more. And those types of annuities usually have either interest-free withdrawals or 10% liquidity-free withdrawals. Meaning if you put $100,000 in, it grows to $103,000, right? 3% return. You can pull 10% of that account out each year without any type of charges or anything like that. So they're a little bit limited in accessibility or liquidity, but there are some faucets that you can turn on if you need that money. Or you can just have them send you the interest and not touch the principal.
But then again, you've also said this isn't an all or nothing solution for you, that maybe this is a portion of where your retirement savings are. So if you're looking for an emergency bucket, you probably aren't necessarily looking at your annuity, correct?
Correct. I always talk about our 3 buckets. You've got that first bucket that is that cash bucket. That's your emergency fund. The money that you can go down to the bank, pull it out anytime that you want. The problem with that is you're not going to make much, right? You're going to make 0 to maybe 0.25 right now. So you're kind of paying the bank to keep your money, but that's the cost of having it safe and secure and accessible. That middle bucket is the income bucket, and that's where we use the fixed annuities, the fixed index annuities. Those are the buckets that we're going to use that to generate income and safety. And then that third bucket is going to be the growth bucket. And the growth bucket is where we're going to use stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. And we're going to adjust that and rebalance that based off your risk tolerance. So I believe in all of the vehicles. It's just putting them in the right place.
Okay. There's one last one I want to ask you about, the fixed indexed annuity. So you have fixed annuity, you have the immediate annuity. There's so many different types out there, and it might be getting confusing for the viewers, but this sounds like one that you're a little bit more comfortable with.
Yeah, so the fixed indexed annuity, I feel right now, especially with market volatility and with the risk in bonds because of the interest rate volatility, I think is a great alternative, because if you put money into a fixed indexed annuity, your principal can never go down. It's protected, and it goes up based off, instead of a fixed rate like the traditional fixed annuity, it goes up based on what a stock market index does. So you can link that to the S&P 500, the Dow, and a lot of the carriers have all of these different indexes, the Barclays, that you can take a look at. But you're going to share in a portion of that upside. So just to give kind of a blanket example, if the market goes up 20%, you might only make 12% in that index. But that 12% becomes part of your principal. Not only can you not lose your principal, you can't lose any of the earnings that you made. Now, if the market goes down, you're just going to get a 0 that year. You're not going to make anything, but you're not going to lose anything, and you're going to keep everything you put in and previously earned. And then you can tie income riders to that, to where you can get the guaranteed payments down the road. So it's a really great tool, especially for this environment, and they've grown in popularity. Annuities, people are starting to see the value in the annuities, and they've changed. The annuities today are not my father or grandfather's annuities.
Yeah.
I call the new generation annuities.
Okay, all right, so many different functions to them. It's a lot to take in for people who have been interested in this annuity conversation and they want to call in on the phone number. Of course, you'll discuss this with them, but how about this? What if somebody has already bought an annuity or two or three? Are you willing to look at those for someone and kind of give them an idea if you feel like it was actually appropriate for them?
Yeah, absolutely, and I enjoy doing that with a client because they sit down and I've built my practice around education. So the easiest thing to do is to really sit down with a client, and I don't call the advisor that sold them the product. I call the insurance carrier directly, and I know all the questions to ask. So I can find out for them, is it a fixed annuity? Is it a fixed index annuity? Is it a variable annuity? What fees are they paying or not paying? What features do they have or not have? And I do that at no cost. That's a complimentary service. I'm going to go down and do a complete annuity review. And then once we have all of the numbers, we can talk and decide if that's really right for your portfolio, or is there something better out there? Do you have an older type annuity that maybe could be transferred into a new generation annuity with better benefits? And how does that fit into the complete overall retirement plan?
Do you have a problem with anybody doing a second opinion on your work?
On my work, no. Yeah, you caught me off guard with that one.
Well, I was just saying, in this industry, if you're in the medical profession or even in the automobile profession, I like to go get a couple of second opinions. And if you put together a strategy for someone, you have a problem if someone else goes and gets a second opinion on your work?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I see what you're asking now.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm very confident in the plan that we build. And we have software where we really make sure that we're offering the client the best possible outcome that we can. So if a client says, Jerry, the example I used earlier in the show, that came with me, the 1.5 million, looking for certain income, I ran that through a lot of different software programs that generates all of the different carriers' payouts and incomes and interest rates to make sure that I was getting them the best deal. So I'm doing the shopping for them, and I'm showing them the top 5 carriers.
Jared, well, we're going to have to close out today's show very briefly. Can you tell folks out there about the complimentary review? They can ask you, of course, about annuities and so many other things, right?
Sure. What we're offering is for the next 10 callers is our on-track retirement review. When you come in, if you have annuities, bring them in. I'll do a complete analysis for you. I'll answer those questions. You'll walk away feeling educated and empowered. We'll also do a complimentary tax review. We'll design an income plan for you. Again, we're going to look at the fees, and we're going to do that income plan for you as well.
Right. Fantastic stuff. So you're right here in the St. Louis area, right? You've been around here for a long time. So you know how to help people, Midwestern folks right now, be and stay retired, and that's part of what the review is all about. So we encourage people to come out for your complimentary offer to see what retirement means to them. So thank you so much, Jerry, for all of your time today.
Thanks a lot, Spike.
Folks, make sure you tune in again next week. Call for your complimentary review from Jerry right here at 844-878-1293. Thank you so much for watching What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We'll be back again next week. Take advantage of that complimentary review.